time. Luke begins chapter 22, verse 3 with, "Then Satan entered into Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12. And he went away to confer with the chief priests and the officers of the temple police about how he might betray Jesus." Now here is the opportune time. Jesus has confronted demons all throughout the gospel and overpowered them. And Luke suggests that the adversary now has found the perfect pawn in Judas Iscariot and will use him to destroy Jesus. When Jesus sits down to eat the Passover with his disciples, he says, "I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer." Interestingly enough, the Greek word for suffer is pascho, and it's nearly the same word as the Greek word for Passover, paschal. I think that is no accident. Jesus has been called our paschal lamb and is now tonight perhaps our paschal lamb. Luke's Passover meal differs from the rest of the gospel writers. He mentions 2 cups. I don't know if you noticed that when I read the gospel. He mentions 2 cups. One that is drunk before the bread and then one after the bread. In the Seder tradition, which became more solidified about 200 years after Jesus' death, the cups partaken during the meal commemorate and give thanks for God's acts of redemption for the people of Israel. The more than one cup in Luke's account may be an attempt at accuracy in recounting the steps of the Seder meal. Since the 3rd century, the Seder calls for drinking 4 cups during the meal. The cups correspond to 4 stages of 4 acts of God's redemption. The release of the captives in Egypt. The first cup commemorates God's promise. "I will take you out from under the burden of the Egyptians. I will take you out of living a life in hard labor." The second cup commemorates, "I will rescue you from your slavery and subjugation." The third cup, "I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and great judgments, so that the Egyptians will acknowledge your liberty." The fourth cup, "I will take you to me as a nation, and I will be your God, and you will be my people." When Jesus invites his disciples to drink of the cups, commemorating the acts of God's redemption, it is part of the ritual to recite over the cups and then drink the cup. Some Jewish authorities say that if the commandment is to recite the prayer, if the commandment is to recite the Kiddush over the cup, not everyone at the Seder has to drink from the cup in order to fulfill the commandment. It is only important that the person leading the Seder drink from the cup over which he recites the prayer. If the commandment, however, is to drink the cup, then one could not fulfill the commandment for others. It must be a physical act of compliance with the commandment on the part of each person who is commanded to drink. Every individual present then would have to drink from his own cup. Jesus sees his commandment on this night as the leader of the Seder to recite the prayer over the cup. And in the first cup, he recites the first prayer. And he says, "Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth the fruit of the vine, that we might drink from this cup and drink of the fruit of the vine." when he has recited that prayer, he does not drink of the cup as it is commanded. Instead, he divides the cup amongst his disciples and commands them to drink from the cup, saying, I will not drink of this cup. I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes. Then he recites the Kiddush over the loaf. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth grain that we might have bread to eat. Then he divides the bread. He does not partake of it. He divides it and he passes it around to his disciples. And he said, I will not eat the bread. You will eat the bread. Eat this. This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. And then he does something very dramatic. He then takes the second cup, as he did the first cup. And again, he recites the Kiddush and gives thanks to God, saying, Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth the fruit of the vine, that we might drink of the wine. And then he took the cup. He said, this is the cup of the new covenant, which is poured out for you. In my blood. Luke says the line. The cup that is poured out. The cup is not drunk. The cup is not passed around. The cup is not partaken of by anyone. I will invite you now to come and partake of the Lord's Supper in groups of 12, remembering how on this night of nights, the Christ re-signified the acts of God's redemption, and giving thanks over the cups. Instead of partaking of the cups himself, he handed them to his disciples and commanded them to drink. Please, in groups of 12, come forward as disciples. You are commanded to partake of this, the Lord's Supper.